In a lush, remote Nigerian village, whispers surround a woman named Adanna. Renowned not only for her stunning beauty but for her kind heart and graceful presence. Adanna is admired by everyone, from the children who look up to her as a role model, to the women who envy and respect her, and the men who are enchanted by her charm. Her beauty is not just skin deep, it is almost ethereal, as if she's ageless. But Adanna hides a secret. Late at night, she ventures into the depths of the forest, gathering rare herbs and plants, known only to the ancient herbalists. These herbs, carefully selected and blended, hold the secrets of youth, a knowledge passed down through her family for generations. With her herbal concoctions, Adanna maintains her flawless skin, her shining hair, and the glow that captivates everyone. One night, a curious young girl, Amaka, spots Adanna slipping into the forest under the cover of darkness. Driven by curiosity, Amaka decides to follow her, determined to uncover the mystery behind Adanna's beauty. She watches from a distance as Adanna picks strange, glowing herbs and performs an ancient ritual, whispering incantations in a language Amaka has never heard. The following morning, rumors start to circulate. Amaka, unable to keep what she saw to herself, confides in her friend, Kine, about Adanna's midnight ritual. Word spreads quickly, and soon the village is abuzz with talk of magic and forbidden practices. Adanna feels the weight of suspicious stares and wary whispers, yet she remains calm, certain that her secret is still safe. Amaka begins to feel strange symptoms, weakness, sudden chills, and an eerie sensation as if someone is watching her. She dismisses it as fatigue, but an unsettling feeling lingers, as if something dark has taken notice of her intrusion. The mysterious illness plaguing Amaka worsens. She suffers from feverish dreams filled with haunting visions of twisted trees and shadowy figures. Her once lively spirit dims, and worry spreads among her family and friends. The villagers begin to whisper that Amaka might have angered something, or someone, powerful. Some suggest it's the result of her sneaking into forbidden places and witnessing things meant to remain hidden. Meanwhile, Adanna senses the rising tension in the village. She notices the stares and hears the murmurs behind her back. People are beginning to avoid her, and some of her closest friends now look at her with suspicion. Adanna realizes she may need to take drastic measures to protect her secret. One evening, as Amaka lies in bed, drifting between fevered dreams and restless sleep, she sees a shadowy figure standing in her room. The figure, though indistinct, carries a familiar presence. It whispers in her ear, promising her beauty, power, and admiration, if only she keeps Adanna's secret. Terrified, Amaka tries to scream, but no sound escapes her lips. The shadow fades, leaving behind a single flower on her bed, a flower only found deep within the forbidden forest. The next morning, Adanna pays a visit to Amaka's family, bringing a basket of healing herbs and a sympathetic smile. She expresses concern for Amaka's health and offers a special herbal remedy, claiming it will help soothe her illness. Amaka's mother, desperate to save her daughter, accepts gratefully, though an unease lingers. As Adanna mixes the herbs for Amaka, she carefully adds a strange powder, murmuring softly under her breath. Amaka drinks the mixture, and as it soothes her, a glaze appears over her eyes. She seems calmer, but there's an unnatural stillness in her gaze, as if her will has been subdued. The villagers take notice of Amaka's sudden recovery, and some begin to believe in Adanna's miraculous healing powers. This only deepens the divide in the village, with some praising Adanna for her wisdom and others growing increasingly wary of her mysterious methods. As the episode closes, Amaka, under Adanna's spell, begins spreading stories of Adanna's kindness, devotion, and natural gifts. Yet, as she speaks, her voice sounds distant, as if someone else is speaking through her. Meanwhile, Adanna retreats to her home, feeling secure once more. She gazes into a mirror, satisfied with her reflection but sensing a deeper hunger for control over those around her. She whispers to herself, "I will keep this beauty, whatever the cost." Adanna's influence over Amaka grows stronger each day.
Amaka, once a lively and curious girl, now speaks in a strangely subdued tone, always praising Adanna's beauty and wisdom. The villagers notice her unusual behavior, but they are captivated by her stories of Adanna's kindness, which begin to sway even the most skeptical hearts. Meanwhile, Adanna continues her nightly visits to the forest, gathering rarer and more potent herbs. But each time she performs the ritual, she feels a slight weariness creeping into her bones. She brushes it off, believing it to be the cost of maintaining such beauty. Yet each night her reflection seems a little less vibrant, her eyes a little darker. Driven by her desire to stay beautiful and loved, she increases the strength of her herbal mixtures. One evening, Adanna encounters Elder Nneka, a respected herbalist and healer who knows of the ancient practices Adanna uses but refuses to dabble in them. Suspicious of Adanna's nightly rituals and her influence over Amaka, Elder Nneka confronts her gently, asking about her recent actions. Adanna brushes off the elder's questions, but Elder Nneka warns her about the dangers of meddling with forces that require a price that often grows over time. Determined to protect her beauty at all costs, Adanna dismisses Elder Nneka's warnings, convinced she can handle whatever consequences may come. But as she leaves the elder's home, she feels an icy chill, as if someone or something is watching her closely. She turns, catching a glimpse of a shadow lingering just beyond her line of sight. That night, as Adanna performs her beauty ritual, her mirror cracks unexpectedly. She stares at the fractured reflection, startled but unafraid. "It's only a mirror," she murmurs, but her hands tremble slightly. She completes the ritual and heads to bed, only to be haunted by strange dreams, visions of her reflection aging rapidly, her skin wrinkling and her hair turning white. When she wakes, her face is flawless, but a gnawing fear has settled in her heart. The next day, Amaka's mother visits Elder Nneka, explaining her daughter's strange behavior and her obsession with praising Adanna. Elder Nneka listens intently and realizes that Amaka may be under a spell of control, her mind influenced by the same dark magic Adanna uses to preserve her youth. Concerned for the young girl's soul, Elder Nneka decides to take action.
Elder Nneka secretly gathers a few villagers who share her suspicions about Adanna. Together, they agree to keep watch over her movements and seek out a way to break whatever dark hold she has on Amaka. Meanwhile, Adanna's power and beauty seem to grow more luminous, but so does the darkness lurking in her shadow. Adanna's beauty reaches new heights, captivating even the most skeptical villagers. Yet behind her radiant smile lies a gnawing fear. The visions from her dreams grow darker, showing her frail and aging rapidly, her beauty slipping away. Each morning, she wakes up flawless, but she knows something is changing within her. Meanwhile, Elder Nneka's group secretly watches Adanna, growing increasingly wary of her influence. They notice that Amaka seems to act more like Adanna's shadow, always lingering nearby, speaking her praises with a strange, hollow look in her eyes. Rumors spread through the village about Adanna's power and the control she has over Amaka, stirring both fear and fascination. One evening, Elder Nneka and her group decide to follow Adanna on one of her nightly trips to the forest. They hide in the dense shadows as she gathers her herbs, murmuring incantations and mixing powders with an intensity that chills the onlookers. Suddenly, a dark figure appears behind her, a shadowy presence with piercing red eyes. The figure whispers words in a language the villagers cannot understand, and Adanna responds with reverence, as though in a trance.
Elder Nneka recognizes the figure as a spirit of vanity, a being known to grant beauty but at a steep price. Horrified, she realizes that Adanna has gone beyond herbal knowledge and has invoked a spirit, binding herself to a dark force that could consume her. Back in the village, Amaka's strange behavior escalates. She begins sleepwalking at night, her eyes glazed and her voice murmuring words in the same ancient language Adanna uses in her rituals. Her family grows desperate and pleads with Elder Nneka to save her. Elder Nneka believes that Amaka's spirit is trapped under Adanna's spell, controlled by the spirit of vanity that Adanna has summoned. That night, Elder Nneka gathers the villagers for a secret meeting, urging them to resist Adanna's influence and warning them about the dangers of her beauty. She speaks of the spirit of vanity and the price it demands, explaining that Adanna may no longer have control over her own fate. Though some are hesitant, fearing the consequences of going against someone so beloved, others grow determined to confront Adanna and free Amaka from her hold. Adanna sits alone in her room, staring into her mirror with a haunted look. The mirror's surface begins to ripple, and her reflection twists and ages, revealing a wrinkled, hollow-eyed version of herself. The spirit's voice echoes around her, whispering, "The price must be paid." Her hands tremble, and for the first time she wonders if she has made a terrible mistake. Adanna's nights become plagued by restless visions. Each time she looks into her mirror, she sees a reflection of herself as she would be without her spells and rituals, older, frailer, and void of beauty. The spirit's whispers grow louder, reminding her that her beauty is borrowed and the time to repay has come. Desperate, Adanna returns to the forest to perform more powerful ritual, hoping to appease the spirit. She mixes the strongest herbs she can find and chants with fervor, pleading for her beauty to remain untouched. But as she chants, the spirit of vanity appears, a shadowy figure with gleaming eyes, towering over her. It warns Adanna that beauty is fleeting and that her time to hold on to it has run out. The spirit demands a final, horrifying payment. If Adanna wishes to remain beautiful, she must sacrifice the youth of another. Realizing what this means, Adanna hesitates. The spirit names Amaka as the perfect offering, due to the young girl's pure and unspoiled spirit. In horror, Adanna understands that by continuing to control Amaka, she has already been slowly draining her youth and vitality. Now the spirit insists she must take Amaka's youth completely or face a painful end to her beauty. Conflicted and terrified, Adanna returns to the village, where the uneasy silence around her has thickened. Many villagers now avoid her, and those once loyal to her praise her beauty with a forced admiration that feels like a charade.
Amaka, under the influence of the spell, seems weaker each day, her eyes growing more hollow, her once bright spirit fading. That evening, Elder Nneka gathers her small group again. She shares her findings about the spirit of vanity, warning the villagers that Adanna's actions are no longer in her control. With Amaka's life in danger, Elder Nneka urges them to act before Adanna sacrifices the girl's youth completely. They decide that confronting Adanna is their only option, even though it means facing the wrath of the spirit she has summoned. Under the cover of darkness, Elder Nneka and her group approach Adanna's home, hoping to talk her into abandoning the ritual and releasing Amaka. But Adanna, gripped by fear of losing her beauty and haunted by the spirit's voice, refuses to listen. Desperation flashes in her eyes, and she cries out, "You do not understand. This beauty is my life. Without it, I am nothing." As they plead with her, Adanna's demeanor shifts. Her voice drops to a low, sinister tone, and her eyes flicker with the spirit's influence. She lashes out at them, warning them to stay away or face the spirit's wrath themselves. Terrified but determined, the villagers and Elder Nneka realize they must break Adanna's connection with the spirit if they are to save Amaka. In the episode's final moments, Elder Nneka declares that she will perform a counter-ritual to sever Adanna's bond with the spirit. But there's one catch. The ritual requires Adanna's willing participation, a choice she may never make. The villagers look on in despair as Adanna, still under the spirit's grip, retreats into the night, her beauty and her soul slipping further into darkness. As dawn breaks, the village feels heavier, blanketed by an unnatural silence. Adanna has isolated herself, no longer emerging from her home to greet anyone. Shadows seem to linger around her house, and the villagers avoid it entirely, fearing the malevolent force that now clings to her presence. Her beauty, though still intact, seems to hold an eerie glow, more haunting than captivating. Inside her home, Adanna paces restlessly, her mind torn between her desperate longing to stay beautiful and the increasing dread of the spirit's demands. She hears whispers echoing in her mind, reminding her that without Amaka's youth, her beauty will fade, and she will be left an empty shell, both body and soul. Meanwhile, Amaka's condition worsens. Her family is beside themselves with worry, and Elder Nneka knows there is no time left. Amaka's youth and life are draining away, leaving her pale and lifeless. Elder Nneka prepares the counter-ritual, determined to save Amaka's spirit and sever Adanna's link to the spirit of vanity. She gathers herbs, charms, and protective symbols, calling upon the strength of the ancestors.
That night, as the villagers gather in quiet support of Elder Nneka, Adanna senses the counter-ritual being prepared. She feels an intense rage rising within her, a dark fury that is not her own but that of the spirits. It drives her to Amaka's house, where she confronts Elder Nneka, demanding to know what she is doing. Her voice is filled with malice, and her once kind eyes now flash with the cold, ruthless glint of the spirit's influence. Elder Nneka, though frightened, stands her ground. She pleads with Adanna, reminding her of the kindness and love she once had for the village, and asking her to let go of the beauty that has cost so much. But Adanna, unable to face the idea of losing what she believes defines her, refuses, screaming that she would rather sacrifice anyone than lose her radiance. In a last-ditch effort, Elder Nneka places a protective charm around Amaka, creating a barrier that prevents the spirit from drawing any more of her youth. Enraged, Adanna tries to break through the barrier, her face twisting in desperation, her beauty warping with every attempt. Suddenly, Adanna collapses to her knees, clutching her face as it begins to change. Her skin loses its glow, and wrinkles start to appear, aging her in an instant. Her hair begins to gray, and her body weakens, as if years of her life are slipping away before everyone's eyes. The spirit's voice echoes around her, mocking her. Beauty was never yours to keep. Adanna, broken and horrified, reaches out to Elder Nneka, begging for help. She finally sees the truth, that her obsession with beauty has cost her everything she once held dear. Elder Nneka tells her that to be free, she must willingly renounce the spirit and face the natural course of life, aging with grace. In agony, Adanna agrees, and Elder Nneka performs the final rites, breaking the bond between Adanna and the spirit. The shadows dissipate, and the spirit's laughter fades, leaving Adanna frail and ordinary. She collapses, her beauty gone, but a strange peace settles over her as she realizes the depth of her mistake. As the villagers watch, Amaka begins to recover, color returning to her cheeks and strength to her body. Elder Nneka comforts her, and the villagers thank her for her bravery in confronting the dark forces that had overtaken Adanna. Adanna, sitting alone outside her home, watching the sunrise. Though she has lost her beauty, she is free, finally able to see beyond her own reflection. The villagers, though saddened, offer her forgiveness, and Adanna begins a quiet journey toward redemption, learning to embrace herself beyond what she once saw in the mirror. In the days following the ritual, the village begins to heal, but the scars of Adanna's choices linger. Though Adanna's appearance is now plain and aged, her spirit seems lighter, as if a burden has been lifted. She avoids mirrors, no longer tempted by her reflection, and focuses on rebuilding her life with humility. The villagers, though wary, gradually open their hearts to her once more, offering forgiveness and cautious kindness.
Adanna seeks out Elder Nneka, humbled and remorseful, asking how she can repay the village and make amends for the suffering she caused. Elder Nneka advises her to share her story honestly, to warn others of the dangers of vanity and obsession. Adanna agrees, knowing this is part of her healing, and begins teaching the young women of the village not about beauty, but about inner strength and resilience. Meanwhile, Amaka fully recovers, her spirit and vitality restored. She is confused about much of what happened, as if her memory of those dark days is foggy, but she feels a strange understanding and compassion toward Adanna. Adanna apologizes to Amaka and her family, expressing deep remorse for the suffering she unknowingly caused the girl. Amaka's mother, though cautious, sees the sincerity in Adanna's heart and offers forgiveness, a gesture that brings Adanna to tears. Despite the healing, the spirit of Vanity has not fully left the village. Strange occurrences begin to trouble the villagers: whispers in the wind, eerie reflections appearing in pools of water, and flickers of shadow near Adanna's home. Elder Nneka senses that the spirit is not fully vanquished and worries it may return, seeking a new vessel. One evening, while Adanna is meditating near the river, she sees a faint figure in the water's reflection, the spirit, watching her with cold, mocking eyes. The spirit speaks, warning her that while she may have renounced her vanity, others will still fall prey to its lure. It tells her that as long as humans crave beauty and power, it will find new hosts, new hearts to corrupt. Terrified but resolute, Adanna speaks back to the spirit, declaring that she will devote her life to educating the villagers about true beauty and inner strength, so they may resist its temptations. The spirit laughs, vanishing into the water, but Adanna feels a sense of victory, knowing that she has faced it without fear. Adanna stands before the young women of the village, sharing her story, her struggles, and the consequences of her choices. Her words resonate deeply, and the young women listen with newfound respect for the woman who has gone from a figure of admiration to a humble guide. But as Adanna finishes her story, she notices a strange glimmer in the eyes of one of the young girls, a look she recognizes all too well, the beginnings of vanity and ambition. Adanna realizes that her work is far from over, that the spirit's influence will always find a way to seep into vulnerable hearts. Adanna dedicates herself to guiding the young women in her village, hoping to share the hard lessons she learned. She spends her days teaching them about self-worth, humility, and the importance of inner beauty. The villagers grow to admire Adanna, not for her appearance, but for her wisdom, kindness, and sincerity. She finally feels a sense of peace she had never known before, but the spirit of vanity is not so easily defeated. One day, a beautiful stranger named Chika arrives in the village, catching everyone's eye with her captivating looks. She shows a particular interest in the tales surrounding Adanna's past, and begins to ask probing questions about the spirit of vanity and the rituals used to summon it.
Adanna watches Chika with a wary eye, sensing the familiar hunger for beauty in her gaze. In a private conversation, Adanna warns Chika about the spirit, sharing the painful costs of relying on anything other than one's own integrity and character. Chika listens but dismisses Adanna's words, claiming that beauty is her right and that she'll do anything to preserve it. That night, Adanna dreams of the spirit again, mocking her, reveling in the chance to corrupt another soul. Adanna awakens with a sense of urgency, knowing she must do something to protect the young women of her village from following her tragic path. She decides to share her story openly, telling every detail of her encounter with the spirit, the curse it brought into her life, and the way it nearly consumed her. As Adanna's story spreads, the villagers gather, captivated by her transformation. They witness firsthand the power that the spirit holds over those who let vanity take root, and many are deeply moved. Slowly, they begin to recognize and appreciate beauty that stems from kindness, generosity, and inner strength, rather than mere appearance. Adanna standing before the village, a humble figure who has found freedom in embracing her true self. She encourages them all to find strength within, to resist the temptation of vanity, and to remember that real beauty is found in character and heart. Chika, though initially dismissive, listens quietly from the edge of the crowd, her expression softened as if reconsidering her path. Moral lesson. The story of Adanna reminds us that true beauty is not something we can find in mirrors or magic. It is born from kindness, wisdom, and self-acceptance. When we allow vanity to take over, we risk losing ourselves and hurting those we love. Only by embracing who we are can we find true peace and happiness. Thank you for watching this captivating tale. If you enjoyed Adanna's journey and the lessons it offers, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Join us on Camtoon for more powerful African stories that entertain, inspire, and teach. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on what real beauty means to you. See you in the next story.